I came from a family of immigrants who had very little to no education, barely spoke English. So, they worked low-paying jobs for most of their lives. So, we were privileged in many ways, but in other ways, we struggled a lot.
I would say my present socioeconomic status is very privileged. I teach at a university, so I'm, one of the a handful of racialized workers that work at within academia. So I'm in a pretty privileged position, but I've worked my ass off to get here.
Gentrification is not the same as revitalization. Revitalization refers to neighborhood change, improvement, upgrading, but it's done from the bottom up.
The lower class neighborhood is revitalized in a way that kind of takes away certain cultural things of that neighborhood.
Well, that's when they take a old neighborhood and they just make something new to make more money.
Like, what does it mean to us?
Yeah.
It's a bittersweet thing.
Messing up with the poor because they're just taking
they're
everybody
just
out,
spreading
so
everybody
away
away.
there.
And it's like an inconvenience to everybody, especially if they send you far away. Like, what if you work downtown?
Exactly.
And you have no money, it's hard enough to get there.
About the highlighting of the have and the have-nots, and about the very real possibility of the competition for life essentials and resources being taxed even more in the way that affordable housing and those that might not have good economic resources get pushed to the margins and can barely afford livable conditions.
I don't know if I can define it as much as think of words that come to mind for me, and when I think of that, I think of displacement, I think of discrimination, I think of profit, I think of capital, I think of benefit. I think that, I also think that it's presented in a fashion that sounds very attractive and very appealing, but doesn't provide people with all the information they need to know in order to understand what the long-term impact is. So I think it's deceptive. I will tell you right up front that I'm very, very biased.
Get down!
Yes, mine is, I live in Bleecker, and they're gonna take all the houses and they're gonna build something new.
My old neighborhood, the Esplanade, they recently, or have been, becoming more revitalized. There's been more condos coming up. A lot of the shops, like a lot of convenience stores who are owned by families, have been taken away, and now they're replaced by coffee shops.
It's run by the city, and it sort of figures out ways to support housing situations for residents within the city of Toronto who need access opportunity.
What it represents and what it's intended to be are probably two different things, but I think for me it represents an opportunity for those that are experiencing housing issues for various reasons to actually have an opportunity to have housing that are not necessarily, substandard.
Voices to be heard.
Absolutely not a process. No, I know that we did one here. We had, what's his face come? That politician, that dude, Adam Vaughan. Adam Vaughan came in and talked about it. And again, it sounds really good. It sounds good. It's presented well. And I think that, that's a piece of it, but that's a small piece, right? If you're going to truly listen to residents' voices, then you have to take what they say. So if they're concerned about that they're not going to be going into their back to their homes, they're concerned about this, they're concerned, you have to take those seriously and look at a really active plan to make those things come true. Otherwise, it's just bullshit of okay, yeah, we talked to the residents, we heard them, but we still did what we wanted to do in the end.
Maybe it depends, because before I remember when I used to, 4 years ago, before because now I live in a new building. So before I used to live in some other place, and everybody, like all the neighborhood, everybody would say, like, we would all know each other. We would be nice to each other and everything. And now I live in this new building full of condos, and like, you're in the elevator, no one looks at anybody. Like, it's just all these white people, like they're just not friendly at all. So it's just a different type of people that are not as friendly as or humble as other people that used to live there.
It doesn't feel much like a community.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like
It feels like it's isolated.
Yeah.
Like between people.
When I look around and I see all the beautiful people that I know, and then I see how the rest of society looks at my community, it hurts me. I wish if I can click my finger and just remove that stereotype.
Let's deconstruct it, right? So when we deconstruct it, we're just kind of taking things apart. So if we look at what are the areas that are being revitalized?
Lawrence Heights, St. Jamestown, Regent Park.
What are they considered?
Priority neighborhoods.
Exactly. Priority neighborhoods, at-risk neighborhoods, right? Neighborhoods that are that need to be fixed up. Who lives predominantly in those neighborhoods?
Others, minorities.
Minorities, racialized folks, right? Folks that are new to the country, folks whose first language or additional language is not English, right? So it's a specific population that is being directly impacted, right? Chances are good that we're not going to go to the bridle path and say, oh, we need to upgrade, because it doesn't need upgrading. Two, people already have the money to make whatever happen. So it's another way in which marginalized folks experience further marginalization. You're right. Housing is a right, and people should have the right to have safe, affordable, rent-geared-to-income housing regardless of the area. But if you're looking at the larger pieces, there is systemic racism, there's discrimination that happens to racialized folks, and I think that in part is it a cleansing? Maybe. I definitely know that it impacts folks, and that at the end of the day, that if we're looking at, it's not just a kind of on the ground issue, it's a larger systemic issue of race, of racism, of discrimination, of lack of affordable housing, of things that should be a basic human right.
It's all about money, man. I think it's really, honestly, everything has an economic or geographic reason behind it.
Hopefully the residents, I think that the number one priority should be to benefit residents.
Condos, they're making money off of those condos, those coffee businesses, all the money.
I think that there's truly strength in numbers, and that communities need to come together. And that's not just within our own communities, but community to community. Because still we're fighting each other, right? Lawrence Heights is not working with RP. RP is not working with AP. We're all separated. We all got beef, right? If we're to really come together collectively, there's some healing that needs to happen. That's easier said than done.
This concrete won't forget whose blood built it. Gentrification ain't nothing but some no-name heifer trying to steal my land. But this dirt ain't nothing but an accumulation of my people's footprints. We be something the rain can't wash out. What's a bulldozer to my grandmother's memory? We built the hands you're trying to tear us down with. You think I need a key to get into my own home? These doors know my face better than your whips ever did. You can't renovate a borough without burying the people already living there. This be more than your vacation home. This be more than your white guilt getaway, more than your Walgreens across the street from the courthouse. Say you want to clean up our streets. Say you want to save our children. They know what to do when the bullets start flying. You can't renovate a borough without burying the people already living there.
Thank you.